scary, scary line from Kyle Shanahan on the 49ers left guard competition here in LA.
It's still a competition. You know, no one's really completely made it easy on us yet.
No one has made it completely easy on us. Translation, all three of the 49ers competitors at left guard have failed to win the job, and San Francisco feels that there is a hole at that position. Now, they can still hope that Carver Willis, the rookie, takes significant strides forward. He's been out of the concussion protocol for about a week. They can still hope that Connor Colby corrects some of the errors that are part of this regression that has moved him to second team action. They can still hope that Robert Jones knocks off some rust. But Chris Furster was already very matter of fact in his appraisal of Robert Jones this offseason.
His biggest thing he has to work on is pass protection. He's a absolute starter in the run game. I mean, absolute. He's freaking awesome in the run game. But third down, pass pro, and things like that. I don't care what position. If you can't play on third down, it's hard to be a player in the NFL. Because third down's the money down. You got to be able to show up on third down. That's where Dom probably had some of his problems last year, and that's a place where Rob has got to make sure he improves, because that was a problem for him in Miami. Now, I don't know if that'll be a problem here. We'll see how it goes. He's working his tail off.
He needs to be a better pass blocker. And if the book on him is that he is a good run blocker, yet a deficient pass blocker, it's not likely to change. That's why the 49ers have wanted one of these younger guards to take control of that job. Jones is interesting. He played for the Miami Dolphins under Mike McDaniel. And I just ran into Mike McDaniel here in Manhattan Beach. I'm on the pier at Sunset. 49ers practice with the Chargers just up the road. Mike McDaniel's now Jim Harbaugh's offensive coordinator, and he worked with Robert Jones running a 49ers type of offense in Miami, where Jones, as a power blocker, was able to pick up the movement blocking and develop the reputation of being a very good run blocker, both through movement and power. But still, the pass protection is the issue. Ran into the 49ers brain trust, including John Lynch, at the place where I got an awesome burrito here in Manhattan Beach. The 49ers have to stay here for a relatively long time. They don't play until Thursday night. They don't play until 7 p.m. Thursday night. It means that they don't fly out till about midnight, which probably means because of the noise curfew at San Jose Airport, they're going to have to land in the middle of the night at SFO and bust back down to the South Bay, where all their vehicles will be waiting. Now, I have to emphasize that not all is lost at that left guard position. In fact, we saw a massive run from K'Lon Black. Welcome back to the 49ers lineup. Over the left side, Trent Williams, you could see that epic block. Nice video from Matt Barrows, but it's the rookie Carver Willis who's in at left guard on that play. So there's obviously some capability for the 49ers here. They are just uncomfortable with the overall body of work that they've gotten from the three competitors at left guard. It does make me wonder if the 49ers, we can talk about veteran options right now, but the best one up until a couple months ago was Joel Bitonio, somebody, a longtime league fixture at left guard, somebody who played under Kyle Shanahan back when he entered the league in 2014, and Shanahan was the offensive coordinator of the Browns, but Bitonio retired. So the 49ers are now looking at the three options on their roster, plus maybe some old friends who are still on the street. Speaking of Mike McDaniel, Daniel Brunskill played for the Dolphins, obviously with the 49ers before then, still available.
I don't know how long the list is, but he's one of the players that can say they've started at 6 different positions in the National Football League.
And somebody like Laken Tomlinson, whom I talked to a couple weeks ago, got the bone spur in his heel cleaned up. He's still available, but 34 years old this season. 49ers very clearly would love if somebody who is already on that roster would step up and grab that position. They might also have to go to outside help at defensive end. The ugliest part of the 49ers practice against the Chargers was the edge setting on run defense. And we all know that the 49ers are currently missing Nick Bosa. There is good news on Bosa's return, though.
Yeah, he's making a lot of progress. He's a lot less irritation, soreness, and tendonitis, whatever you want to call it, than he had last week. So we think he's going the right direction, and see him similar to Christian.
And that's a relief because the 49ers badly need Nick Bosa. They were a borderline top 5 defense with him over the first 2+ weeks of 2025. And then, especially against the run, they dipped into a bottom 10 to 12 defense after Nick Bosa tore his ACL. So they badly need him to set the edge, not just to rush the passer, but to set the edge. They did get Keon White back at practice yesterday, but not yet in team drills. He's missed a couple weeks with a adductor injury. He's probably going to start at the opposite edge because Michael Williams very likely will not be available for the 49ers in week 1. And Williams' specialty is exactly where the 49ers, I thought, struggled most mightily against the Chargers. We saw Keaton Mitchell and Amarian Hampton with some very, very successful early runs in the practice on Tuesday where the 49ers just did not set a firm edge. Something Michael Williams, when he commanded all those double teams last year, extremely high rate as a rookie, did at a high level for the 49ers. There's a reason why their run defense fell off precipitously when Michael wasn't available. And what happened against the Chargers on Thursday is as soon as the 49ers couldn't set the edge early in practice, the Chargers were able to run play action. That's faking run action, and when the run action is so effective as it was for LA, well, that set the 49ers DBs up to get cooked, and it put the 49ers pass rush on its heels. So the 49ers just have to find a way to bolster this edge, and right now the hope is that it comes through returns from injury, but Kyle Shanahan himself said that Michael Williams is likely not going to be back for week 1. If you keep him on PUP into the regular season, he's got to miss at least the first 4 games, and I think it's probably trending in that direction. So you've got Bosa, you've got Keon White, you've got a new scheme with Raheem Morris. You're obviously going to be trying to play some of those outside linebacker types and 5-man fronts to take advantage of the current lack of depth at defensive end, but maybe you're going to have to be even more aggressive if you're the 49ers to solve the current issue. Now, I hate to isolate problems to one position group, or defensive end, outside linebacker, especially when these position groups are as amorphous and adaptable as ever for the 49ers. But I think that you've got to stretch the analysis out to the interior. And there's a reason why the 49ers have called the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Vita Vea. And that is because whatever happens on the inside of the defensive line has a domino ripple wave effect on the outside of the offensive line. And somebody like Vita Vea at 350 pounds with his ability to stop the run and rush the passer, he occupies blockers because of that unicorn ability to do both at that size. And that allows guys on the outside to more easily set the edge, more easily get after the passer. I don't think that Alfred Collins has been good yet this training camp for this preseason. We're going to see on Thursday night if he makes marked strides from the performance in week 1 of the preseason against the Tennessee Titans. Then you could start to say, okay, he was just getting his legs back underneath him. Big, tall, 6'7" body. Obviously takes a little bit more to play with the lower center of gravity that's necessary. But if Collins doesn't look any better against the Chargers, and the 49ers are going to have a chance to play those LA starters for a series, there's an issue at defensive tackle. Right now, CJ West is out. CJ West went down with an injury in the final 49ers practice before they headed down to LA. So one of your big run stuffers from that 2025 draft class is unavailable. Of course, you're blessed if you're San Francisco to have Osa Odighizuwa, who took over the practice against the Chargers. Without Osa Odighizuwa, it would have been brutal defensively for the 49ers. So you need Bosa to compete in this regular season, but Osa saved a lot of things for the 49ers. You saw those videos from Chargers fans gloating about their big passing plays. Well, on more than half of them, Osa Odighizuwa had already tapped Justin Herbert on the shoulder pad, which means that you're sacked in an actual practice. They can't take quarterbacks down in these practices, so I think fans sometimes watching think that there are more big plays than big plays actually happen. Osa Odighizuwa put a stop to a lot of those. Maybe 5, maybe even 6 sacks. I know that Justin Herbert probably would have shaken off 1 or 2 of those, just like Brock Purdy can shake off some stacks and elude some last-minute pressure. But the point is that the 49ers are getting pressure up the middle this year thanks to the trade for Osa Odighizuwa that they were not getting last season. So they've got a lot of that taken care of. I think now you've got to make sure that the run-stopping part is taken care of at the defensive tackle position. And that's why you drafted Alfred Collins and why you drafted C.J. West. And if you don't see West on Thursday, but you do see Collins, you're going to need to see a big step up from what he delivered in the first week of that preseason. Or we can continue to say that defensive tackle, especially when it comes to defending the run, remains a big need for the 49ers. And then edge, I talk so much about the adaptability of this defense. Well, that edge rusher position, how Raheem Morris tackles it, is going to be absolutely fascinating because he might use outside linebackers in edge setting and pass rushing setups in a way that the 49ers didn't do under their previous defensive coordinators, most recently Robert Saleh. In fact, Fred Warner talked about it the other day when he mentioned the 2 sacks that 49ers stack linebackers registered against the Tennessee Titans.
We had 2 backers get sacks in that game, which is, you don't see that. You haven't seen that a lot from our group in the past. But to see young Larry get in there, get a sack, and then Tatum bulldoze a running back to get a sack. Doug did a lot of good things in that game as well. Wallow has been phenomenal all camp. He had a really good track tackle out in space. Nick Martin blowing people up. Unreal. So there was a lot of guys that did a lot of good things.
Warner himself has been on many more blitzes than in the past. Solid in blitz. Didn't like blitzing with those stacked linebackers. He liked rushing with 4, but the 49ers now, I think there's a recognition from Raheem Morris outside of the shifting scheme. I think there's a recognition that the 49ers are not quite as strong in the pass rushing specific positions of the defensive line as they used to be. So they have to pick up some of that slack by sending extra rushers. And we saw Nick Martin bowl over an offensive lineman against the Tennessee Titans. And we're going to see Fred Warner blitzing more. We're going to see guys like Jaden Duggar playing at that outside linebacker position for the 49ers. We're going to see 5-man fronts, which are ways of fortifying a defensive line against the run. Even if your defensive line is strong, I think that 5-man fronts have become something that throws a schematic curveball that the 49ers' own offense has had to deal with. So these are the ways that the 49ers are going to try to combat some of the problems that we saw against the Chargers during the joint practice on Thursday. But in this league, it always starts with personnel, and the 49ers have to get their guys back. And once you have guys like Nick Bosa and Keon White back, then you can start to play the schematic game to its greatest effectiveness. And that's when some of the rookies like Jaden Duggar, some of the fever backers that can play at multiple different positions, that's when the 49ers can take their new talent, mix it with the old talent, and be their most effective. The large picture is this defense has to find a way to be in the top half of the league. We talk about the left guard position on offense. In many ways, I don't want to say it's window dressing. It's obviously important, but we already know that Brock Purdy can helm a very high-level offense, even with some deficiencies like that in front of him. I mean, last year he helmed the top 5, top 6 offense even without wide receivers for the 49ers, and they're going to be a lot better at the receiver position this year. So big picture is that this offense is going to be really good. I think that's already been verified through what we've seen at training camp. I think that as long as you have Brock Purdy as your quarterback, you can feel excellent about the offensive side of the ball. But can that defense be a top half unit? If they can't set an edge, they won't be a top half unit. They're going to be a 21-22 unit like they were last season. If they can't rush the passer because they can't set the edge and because those things are obviously very related, then they're not going to be a top half unit. But in order to have a chance to win a Super Bowl, the 49ers have to bring a top 5 offense, preferably a top 3 offense, to the table and combine it with a top 15 defense. Top 10 would be even better, but you can't get greedy if you're the 49ers and you've struggled to stop the run for the past 2 years and struggled to rush the passer over the past season. They only had 20 sacks. That was the least in the NFL. So it comes down to how they truly are able to fortify this defensive line to set themselves up for not only 2026, but the future. Because they've got a lot of nice young pieces, but those nice young pieces are not going to be unleashed unless the 49ers can properly set an edge and generate some sort of pressure without blitzing all too much. The sunset at the Manhattan Beach Pier, what a vibe. You know, they call August Foggust in San Francisco. It's the coldest month of the year. In LA, August, I think it's the warmest month of the year. That or July, it's completely different here. You could fly 50 minutes and be in a different climate, and I don't mind leaving San Francisco in August. I'd rather be there in September and October. I'll take that over LA, but this is really, really hard to beat. So the 49ers get to spend a week here in Southern California. Game on Thursday should be about a possession for the Chargers starters. That includes Justin Herbert and some of the running backs who looked good for LA against the 49ers during the practice. And the 49ers should play about a series with their starters as well. Maybe not everybody. Maybe you bubble wrap Trent Williams as the 49ers have in the past. But it should be an interesting brief test of some of these top line players, although most of the work was already done on the practice field today. You look this direction, it's obviously west. You can see the sunset. There's an aquarium here at the pier. The clouds are just insane right now. We have come at the right time. You could also see the planes taking off out of LAX. 49ers will not come here to play the Rams this year. They play the Rams down in Melbourne in the Southern Hemisphere, where it currently is not summer. But they do come again to play the Chargers. So maybe we'll run into Mike McDaniel, Jim Harbaugh, and company again. And as darkness takes over, I want to make sure you check out the San Francisco Standard. Harbaugh against Shanahan. We've got the whole Purdy, Herbert storyline, Lance, Mac Jones. Spoke of Mac McDaniel. This was good stuff, so I made sure to reflect that in the writing. So do check that out. Do appreciate the respect that Shanahan and Jim Harbaugh have for each other. And now we get ready for the game. Round 1, Chargers 49ers in the books. Round 2 is coming up on Thursday. Round 3 will be here in LA in December. And the future is unknown, just like that marine layer coming in over the Pacific Ocean. I'm sure it's foggy as hell right now back in San Francisco. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys very soon. Good night, or good morning, since this is running in the morning from Manhattan Beach.
I still think we got a lot more time to go. Not a ton, but enough for guys to step up and do it. I think Carver, missing that time has made him a little bit behind the 8 ball on it. But it's good that he's gotten a full week in and hopefully has no setbacks. So we can make that opinion here in about 2 weeks.